about care calls. So I'm glad that you all joined me. And what I just kind of wanted to cover a couple things today, and I mean, all under the kind of like care call topic. And one is I just went over with my team some very important responsibilities that we have as sponsors and as upline. So if you have gone through the policies and procedures, you see that part of our job is to make sure that we are making contact with team members. That doesn't mean hounding them. That doesn't mean, calling them every couple of months, making sure they're placing orders or anything like that. It just means we're checking in on them, seeing if they need any help or anything like that. Someone says that they don't like care calls. They use a lot of valor. You know what? Oil up if that's what it takes. But I have a funny story about that. When growing up, teenager, early adulthood, I hated making phone calls. Now I would call, if you were my friend, I'd call and talk to you all day long. But so I'm not like somebody that hates the phone. But I do not like to call people that I don't know. So, back before, internet ordering or anything, my parents had a fax machine. And so I would figure out how to fax in an order before I would, call and make that order. So I am not one that likes the phone, but I can still get on the phone and do these care calls. Okay, so it's part of our job, our responsibility as upline to make sure that we're communicating and make sure that we let them know that we're here to help. And that involves your first line, your second line, your 10th, your 15th, 20th, whatever lines you have, you are responsible for calling into those lines and for communicating into those lines. So one very important thing to note is that every so often you might have somebody that says, I don't want you to call my team. And what you need to tell them is that it is your responsibility to do that. Now, what I do, or they say, don't email my team. And I say, I am more than happy to take off anyone from my list that doesn't want me to contact them, but I do need that request to come directly from them. And then at that point, if that person has directly requested I not contact them, then I don't. But I do not allow anybody to make that decision for their team members, because it's very important. What would have happened for me if somebody up in my line had said, hey, Jean Marie, Marcella, we don't want you contacting our team. Well, I never would have heard from them. And then what would I have done? Because everyone kind of between us kind of fell off. So how would I have, had the communication with those people that were so important to me in growing my business? So that is something very important for you to know, is that if somebody asks you not to contact their team members, simply tell them that that's fine, but you do need the request to come directly from that person, and it only is valid for that one person. They can't, request you not contact someone else like that. So there's that important part. And then when you call, just make it friendly. We're not doing sales calls or anything like that. When I call, I just say, hi, my name is Kim Prather, and I am part of your Young Living Upline support team along with Penny Clark, or whoever enrolls them. That's who I reference them to. That way I've made that connection so they know that I'm not someone from corporate, and I'm not just some random person calling them. I've made that connection with somebody they know. So I'll say, I'm calling, I'm friends with, or, I'm part of your support team along with, and then I list their enroller. And then I just let them know, I just want to let you know that I'm here to help you. I'm here to answer any of your questions about oils or business or anything that you may have. And usually that's, when I do care calls, I leave a lot of messages. Either people aren't home, or, a lot of people don't answer the phone if they don't know who it is. And so, I just leave a message. I leave my phone number. I just say, if you ever need to get a hold of me, here's my number. And then if I'm actually talking to them, I give them a couple minutes, I give them a little bit to, say if they have a question. Like this week, last week, all the calls I've been doing, people have been saying, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. And they'd let me know that their sponsor enroller is doing a great job at getting them information. I say, that's great. So just, here's my number if you ever need to get a hold of me. And that's it. So, usually even these last few calls, when I have gotten a hold of people, they're only lasting like 2 minutes. Like, seriously, guys, it's not like I'm spending 30 minutes on the phone. Now, I have done that in the past, so it's always a possibility. But in general, it's not like I can only get 3 calls done in an hour, because I'm calling through these lines. I'm leaving the messages. I'm spending 1 to 2 minutes on the phone with them. It's not a big deal. Okay, so that is my biggest tip for care calls. Now, right now, you can choose a different strategy, however you want to call. Right now, I'm calling through the list of all of my distributors that enrolled in August and purchased a kit in August. So if they just enrolled and they stopped, and so they have like a 0 PV, I'm not calling them. That's just one of my ways I'm weeding through the list, is I'm calling people with PV and the new ones from August. What time of day do I normally do calls? I normally do calls. I normally do them. It's convenient for me to do them in the afternoon between like 2 and 5 my time, and I'm on Mountain Time. I know that Melissa Pepping recently at Road Royal gave some different time slots that she thought was good. So sometimes evening is good. I've had fairly good success getting a hold of people in the evening. My challenge is, because I am on Mountain Time, and I have so many East Coast people that by the time it gets to evening, I don't like to call people after 8 o'clock. That's my own personal preference. And so by the time we're done with dinner, it's like 6 o'clock here. And so that's 8 o'clock Eastern time. And again, just because of my personality, I have a list, and I like just to go right down through the list instead of picking out states and where to call. So that's up to you. Especially if you have a smaller line than I do, that's totally possible and much more doable for you to do that. And if you don't, hi Tracy, if you don't like to do phone calls and you do prefer text, then you can absolutely do that. A lot of times when people sign up, they do give their, it is going to be a cell phone number instead of their home phone in their downline in your viewer. But, so you can certainly do that. Send a Facebook message. For me personally, just because it is, a much larger team, I have nearly 9,000 people. I know that the phone is a phone number, and so if I call, I'm likely going to at least get a voicemail. But if it's somebody that if you really feel more comfortable texting, then do that. Recently, Eric Worre did a video about texting. That was more for prospecting and talking to your friends through texting and things like that. But it's absolutely possible. And as somebody, you could always add that into your question. Say, hey, is this your cell phone? Would it be okay? Or, just let you know this is my cell phone number. Feel free to text me if you have any questions. Because some people, if they have questions, might be more likely to text you than call you. So whatever you're more comfortable with, that's certainly an option. I just like to know that, when I call, I'm at least going to get a voicemail instead of maybe a ping back, because it was an actual like landline instead of a phone. Okay. Any other questions? Again, just, if you have a smaller team, and then, this is a great time to really build those relationships through, that personal communication with them. And because you're able to call many more people. Today it is my, over the next couple days, actually, it's my goal to call all of my level 4s that enrolled in August, because I have about 50 of them. How far down do I make calls? I will call, in theory, all through the line. If I'm doing them the way that I'm doing right now, it takes me a long time to get down to level 10s and 11s. What is my method for keeping track of who I've called and who I've talked to? I have a program called YL Family, and it was developed by Vicki Offer. You can find it at ylfamily.com. If you have under 50 people in your team, it's actually free. If you have over 50 people, then you just pay, and it's a program on your computer instead of like a monthly subscription. And so you do that. What I do is I run reports through that. I run, for right now, I'm calling all the new people, and so I ran the report for all the new people from August, and I sorted it by levels, and that way I'm calling the ones closer to me first. You don't have to do that. That's just how I like to do it. And then I've just, on there, then I cross off everybody I'm not going to call, like the customers or those that didn't actually order. And then what I do make notes on my paper, and then I also make a note in YL Family, and just says, left a message, care call, left a message, care call, no questions, or something like that. And that way, later on, if I go back to that person, I'll know, okay, I did make, or at least attempt to make contact with them. I know that this person has heard my voice, kind of thing. So I really like YL Family for that reason. But you can also run similar reports in your viewer in the new virtual office. You can make notes in there, so you can do some of the similar things in the virtual office. I just prefer YL Family, but you can certainly do that. Again, texting is an option, but it's always great to make notes somewhere, whether it be your virtual office or YL Family, so you know that you reached out to them. And so it's also good to know then later on, if they try to come back and say, I've never heard from my downline, you can say, well, I called you on this date. I sent you an email on this date. So because it is part of our responsibilities according to the policies and procedures to contact our team members, you would want that, kind of paper trail if someone ever said that they've never heard from you. And not to, I've never ever had that issue, and there's times I don't contact people, but just so that's there. And so hopefully that they at least have a name. And again, you don't need to throw out, your rank or anything like that. Just, hey, I'm part of your Young Living Upline support team. I just want to let you know that I'm here to help you or answer any questions that you have. And again, if you're just joining me, I like to also reference back. I'll say, I'm Kim Prather. I'm part of your Young Living Upline support team, along with, and then I name their enroller. Yes, it is part of our job. Removes your excuses. Okay, so, and again, some people, might, when you send out emails, I don't know about you, I have over 1,000 unread emails in my inbox. It drives my husband crazy. I just need to go through and delete a bunch of them. But that's why I like care calls instead of emails, because emails kind of get lost, especially if I think it was just a random, group email. I may not read it. Now, if you're going to send an individual email to that person and they can tell it's an individual email, they're more likely to read it. For the people that only like to text, just text them. I don't know if you're talking about if you only like to text or the people that you're calling only like to text. Just, do that. I still prefer the calling, but you can do that. If you only like to text and you don't have their number, then you're going to have to call them or send them an email. Do something along those lines. The people you want to call only like to text. Then just let them know when you call them that you. Sorry, you're reading comments here. So if you call them and you find out that they only like to text, just make sure that you give them your cell phone number, and so then they know that they can text you. I guess that's the biggest thing I can say there. And you can even let them know because if people only like to text, they may not have even answered your phone call. And so you could say, you can call me at this number, or this is also my number for texting if you'd like to text. You could always just, throw that option out there for them. So, add that to your voicemail, and I think that's a great idea because you're right. Some people might feel more comfortable just saying, hey, I have a quick question instead of calling you, especially if it's, like late at night. People are more likely to send a text than actually call you. So I hope that answers your questions. And I think I've said everything I wanted to say, the highlights, which is it is part of our job. And so don't be afraid of the phone. Valor up and go make the calls. Don't be afraid to leave them a number for texting if you're comfortable with that. And I'm assuming if you're going to call them and leave them your number, you're comfortable with them texting you as well. So maybe I made an assumption there, but that's about it. So let me know. I'll be posting this on YouTube, so let me know if you have any questions.